Welcome back to Wasted Local Fantasy Football. I'm your host, the Fat Brother.
You're supposed to introduce us.
Oh, is that how this goes?
Yes.
Well, Josiah
I'm Josiah because Daniel got winded halfway through his sentence there and couldn't finish. I'm here with Michael. And
the no longer fat brother.
Yeah, the new hot brother.
Hey.
We are...
Dad bods are in, guys.
Yeah, tell that to all the girls that have denied me over the past 2 years.
Well,
dad bods are not in.
You have to have a good personality.
I have a great personality. So, a lot happened this week in fantasy football.
I noticed.
So
I'm so excited to talk about it.
Yeah, so how are you two doing? First, let's get that out of the way because nobody really cares.
My back kind of hurts, and so does Michael's. You can make up your minds what we may have done to each other's backs, but there's our story. How's your back?
My back's fine, actually.
Oh,
it doesn't hurt at all.
That's a first.
Yeah.
Well, I feel great, and we'll get into why here in a second.
Yeah, so a lot, like I said, a lot happened, and this week, like we're not going to get into waivers yet. We'll save that for right before the matchups for next week. But I think this was like the most waivers that we've ever had in a single week, and it's all because Bruce listens to Matthew Berry's every dying word. So, but before we get in,
I was going to say I think it also has something to do with how many injuries happened in the first week.
Oh
as well.
My goodness, yes.
Yeah, that too. But if you look at Bruce's, I don't think anybody that he picked up or dropped were injured. I think he was just like, Matthew Berry says this guy's going to be good this week. Yay, let's go get him.
Let's just get it all out of our system right now so we don't have to ever mention it again. Bruce listens to Matthew Berry and no one else.
Yes, he is literally... I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, let's go into week one's scores. So we're going to start at the top of my list here. We got Jay Jacobs, Jingleheimer, Smith, Nathan versus Poppet and Lockett Linden. Nathan reintroduced Linden to fantasy by handing him the big old L right off the bat, 109.1 to 102. Discuss.
This was a close one, though.
It was.
A lot of close ones.
I just thought it was fitting that Linden came back after a year off of fantasy football, and, you know, he did well, his team did well, but, you know, he got introduced in the proper fashion.
I think it's fitting that Nathan listened to our podcast last week, realized that the Bears defense was a bad idea, picked up the Lions defense, and they both got 0 points. So
yeah.
It could have been negative points, though.
I'm just saying he listened to our wise decision to tell him to choose someone else, and then he made his own error from there.
I think, obviously, I think this came down to the only reason that Linden won this. Obviously, both scores were decent, right over the 100.
Lost.
Or sorry. The only reason Nathan won this was because of how good Jacobs did for him on the Raiders with 33.9 points. I mean, that's probably one of the highest scoring running backs this week.
Well, yeah, if he only scored 2 touchdowns, Nathan would have lost. If you account for yards and everything. So.
And Julio Jones did really well also. I don't think he got a touchdown, but he had 20.2 points.
Yeah.
So Nathan's bench actually did a lot better than his starters. He had Jonathan Taylor and Noah Fant and Zach Moss all score in the double digits, while he had 5 players on his team score in the single digits. Yeah. So Stafford got him 16 points, but that also includes the DeAndre Swift wide open dropped pass in the end zone for the game-winning touchdown.
Oh, my goodness.
So Stafford probably should have had about 20 points there, but I don't think Nathan's going to be necessarily happy with the number he put up, but he's probably happy with the W.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's ask him. Nathan, are you happy with the number that you put up this week, your score?
I could have put up 10 points and won
Said he could have put up 10 points in one and still been happy. So, yeah, he's happy with his points.
Happy for the W. He's just happy to be here.
Well, yeah, I mean, considering, like, if you would have played just Julio Jones and Josh Jacobs versus Ryan, you would have won. So,
Oh, my goodness.
anyway. So, yeah, that was that game. Let's go to the next game. Let's just keep these ones short and sweet. Next one, we've got Kamara Chameleon Roger versus unsolicited DAC picks Josiah. In one single game, Roger made up for his poor performance last year and took Josiah to Pound Town, beating him 126.1 to 103.8. Discuss.
Well,
If you're not crying too hard, Josiah.
I am less upset than you might think I should be because Roger put up a solid score, 126 points, and I hit 100 points, which I did not think was possible going into this week because right after we got off the podcast, Miles Sanders was announced to be out for the week. And then also during the game, Devonta Parker got hurt, didn't play the whole second half. George Kittle got hurt. He played in the second half, but he wasn't himself, and he didn't catch a single pass. And then A.J. Brown got hurt as well. He didn't really have that great of a game. So as far as I'm concerned, I have probably about 15 to 20 points-ish that I could have gotten just from people not playing or just not playing in the second half. Not to mention my kicker missed some kicks. I started the wrong defense, and Josh Allen missed 2 wide open passes in the end zone, which is just what Josh Allen's going to do. Also, he fumbled twice instead of scoring a touchdown, which he should have done. So 103 sucks. I lost to Roger. Roger respectably beat me with some good stuff, but DeAndre Hopkins definitely killed me. Alvin Kamara, Kyler Murray are his high scores there, and Travis Kelce also got 14 points there. So, like I said, I'm not happy that I lost in week 1. It puts me behind the 8 ball, but it could have been worse. I counted 5 question marks on my schedule for the upcoming week. We'll talk about that later, but I think the injury bug has struck, and I think I'm the guy.
It seems to be going that way.
Yeah.
And it's fitting that if you are the injury-prone team this year, it's fitting that Roger took you out in week 1 because
it is fitting. He just is like passing the baton.
Yeah.
On down.
He gave your team COVID. Like that's you too close a proximity to that injury bug, and gave.
I'm
it to
so
you.
proud of your joke there.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. All right, let's move on. Next, the chosen one, Michael, versus the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Bruce. This one made me so happy because I'm just so
This
happy.
also made me happy.
In the game of the week, Michael In the game of the week, Michael narrowly escaped defeat, 31.4 to 129.1, because Bruce is.
That's actually the best way to put it. Narrowly escaped defeat. That's the best way to say this.
Yeah, all because Bruce's awful draft pick of James Conner got hurt before halftime. Discuss.
Oh, praise the sun. So this would have been over if Matt Ryan wouldn't have scooped in and got the garbage points, the garbage touchdowns at the end of that game, because he was riding me like going into the third quarter with like 7 points, because all he had was yards. But thankfully he scooped up 2 touchdowns, so that put him all the way up to 23 with 450 yards, which any other QB would have like 5 touchdowns with that many yards. But still, respectable amount of points. Ezekiel Elliott doing what he does best with 26 points. Aaron Jones, solid RB2 with 15. Tyreek Hill. Keenan Allen continues to disappoint in the second year on my team. Mark Andrews got me 20 points. Stephon Diggs killed it in Buffalo with no touchdowns and still almost 13 points. And Pittsburgh defense saved the day. And like you said, I was down, I think, by like 8 points going into this game, and I had a defense with Pittsburgh, and then he had James Conner. It was all but sealed. Everyone was already talking about how Bruce had the W for that week, and
Not me. I said, watch, James Conner's going to carry the ball and go out in the first quarter, and you're going to win. And
that's true.
That's what happened.
You did say that. So it was really nice to see Bruce and Roger. I have to say Roger was like, because I think I played Roger this week.
I don't know.
But he's like, you're going to be walking 0-2. And I was just like, suck it, Roger.
So shout out to Bruce's team, though, because I believe he had the highest amount of points with a loss. Russell Wilson did really well, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and David Johnson both did very well. If he would have started J.K. Dobbins instead of James Conner, he would have won this, and J.K. Dobbins might be his flex going forward. But he took a risk taking that rookie in the first round, and also David Johnson with his injury history. Week one, I would say it's paid off, and he looks like a scary team going forward. But also, we'll see if it holds up throughout the whole season.
Also, if Hilaire was like a little bit stronger, I would have got my ass kicked because
he couldn't get in the end zone.
Was there 2 or 3 touchdowns he just could not deliver on in the red zone? Like he just could not break through the line. Too tiny.
Yeah, there was a couple.
He's got some work to do.
All right. So that was that game. On to the next one. I can't talk today. Sorry, guys. Like this makes for great podcasting. My speech is about as bad as my face. I'm a librarian Bonner, Brittany, versus Big Booty Cheeks, Josh. Josh will have nightmares for weeks with the royal pounding Brittany put on him. Even Pop-Tarts won't quench the sting of his defeat. 154 to 112.3. Discuss.
Highest score of the week.
She clapped them big booty cheeks. She has the number one quarterback who scored her 20 points, the number one running back who scored her 26 points, and then Carson and Thielen got her 21 and 28 points. Her kicker and defense, Buffalo and Will Lutz, got her 10 points apiece. But I think Jay Crowder, the start there with 21 points in her flex spot, really kind of made her run away with that. I think she loves Terry McLaurin, who got her 8.6 points, but she might want to think about starting John Brown instead of him. That's, of course, up to her, but he outscored Terry McLaurin this week. So, she really crushed. Lamar Jackson outscored Pat Mahomes, and Juju Smith-Schuster put up a great week instead of DK Metcalf for Josh. But he unfortunately had Robbie Anderson and Calvin Ridley on his bench, which actually would have made this interesting. I believe Brittany still would have won, but Josh was 2 starts away from scoring 140 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know. It wouldn't have caused him to win because the only places he could have slotted those people were wide receiver slots, obviously, or flex, and the lowest score there was 13. So that would have added 16 from Calvin Ridley, and the other one would have been really no show. So
he is hurting for running back though because Patrick Lindsay didn't really do much.
Philip Lindsay,
whatever his name is.
Philip Lindsay also went out with an injury. He's got turf toe, so he's out.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Marlon Mack has the ACL, and he's out forever until next season at least. So
yeah, I think that's going to put a damper on Josh's season because not only did he drafted Lamar Jackson in the first round, so it put him behind on their running backs, and his 2 backup running backs are both hurt. So he's going to be, hurting.
Why does he still have him on his? Why not just drop him?
He probably hasn't checked his team yet, to be honest. And if he did, he may have scooped a waiver that we'll talk about later.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to the last game. That would be my game versus Ryan, the newcomer. Ryan's very first matchup of fantasy football went exactly as predicted. In the biggest point spread of the week, Daniel slaughtered Ryan, 137.9 to 65.
He doubled his score plus some.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Although, I will say this. I mean, no one could have predicted that Devontae Adams was going to have a 35-point game. Like, that was absolutely asinine. But on the other end of the spectrum, literally no one would have predicted, even with a small injury that happened near, was it the end of the game, right, for Michael Thomas?
Yeah.
He still only got 3 points. So, those are the two. if Devonta Adams had a normal game of 15 points, and Michael Thomas had a normal game of 30 points, I mean, that's like a 50-point plus back in his favor, for the spread. So I mean, that with Chubb getting him 5 points, his number one running back, 5 points, and Ronald Jones only delivering with 10. So I mean, and the start from Cam Newton or Drew Brees over Cam Newton, which I think a lot of people would have made that call as well. But still, I mean, there's a lot of things that just didn't work out in his favor that ended like this. So,
I mean, he obviously listened to the podcast last week and listened to us say that he should start Drew Brees over Cam Newton. You're welcome, Ryan.
Yeah, that was all Chad. Suck it, Chad. No, I think Daniel's team with Dalvin Cook looked really good there. That was such a steal for him in the first round. And then Raheem Mostert got that 70-yard touchdown. So I don't know if we can expect 23 points out of him every week.
No, no, definitely not.
But that was certainly very good for you. And then you even had Will Fuller. You picked the right flex. He scored the most points out of anyone that was on your bench. So Will Fuller was the correct flex for you this week. San Francisco's defense kind of let you down a little bit. They only scored 1 point. So you should probably just drop them all together is what I have the feeling.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Pass.
But
it's a divisional game.
like-
I'm not going to drop the 49ers after a divisional loss to Arizona. Suck it. It's not going to happen.
I do think their defense is going to struggle this year, though, because I think their offense is going to struggle.
Yeah.
And it's all I have to say about that. But I feel like Ryan, everything that could have gone wrong for his team this week did go wrong. So hopefully this is one of those where you're like, yeah, I suck this week, but I'll be back hopefully better next week.
I don't think, just given his lineup, there's no way this is a consistent 65-point team. I mean, it's a good looking team. So it just is what it is.
All right. So last week, Chad, Josiah, and I did some predictions on wins, who was going to win, who was going to lose, and I went 3 of 5. Josiah went 4 of 5, and Chad picked every single game right. So congrats, Chad. You're a football dork. He probably doesn't even listen to this.
I think he just picked against me for spite. So I'm not.
I mean, if he got 4 out of 5 and he got 5 out of 5, he wasn't picking against you.
He picked against me in my game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Josiah got 4 out of 5.
I got 4 out of 5, and then we picked against each other in my game.
Gotcha.
So he picked Roger. But congratulations, Chad. Michael is going to ruin that for you this week with his picks because he's picking for Chad this week.
Oh,
You're the celebrity.
I didn't know that was a thing.
We have the third picker every week.
Well, I didn't know that was a consistent thing, I should say.
Yeah,
it is now.
You have to carry the torch.
All right.
Okay.
So, like I said before we started going into last week's, there was a lot of waiver stuff. And I'm just going to go through this really fast because it's just so much crap. Because Bruce literally I feel like Bruce has a full new team. Like he completely redrafted his roster. So I'm going to go through this really fast. If anything sticks out to you guys, comment on it. But it's just a lot of stuff that happened on waivers this week. So Bruce dropped DeAndre Swift, Rob Gronkowski, Preston Williams, the Patriots defense, and Antonio Gibson, and picked up Young Hoku, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, the Rams defense, and Scotty Miller. Like, I do that many that much waiver activity in like a 6-week span, maybe. That was all this week. That was all since we recorded last week, literally. And we recorded on Tuesday last week? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's actually been it's been a week and a day, so 8 days he's done that. It's ridiculous. Josh dropped Justin Rohrwasser because last week obviously we talked about it on the podcast. He went on the practice squad, so he made that call before the game. Didn't help him, but dropped Justin Rohrwasser, picked up Dan Bailey, and he picked up the Washington's defense today, which I think is just a bad move. They're good defense, but they're not gonna do as well every single week. Nathan dropped Gardner Minshew, the Lions defense, and the Bears defense, and picked up Jimmy Garoppolo and the Chiefs defense. Roger dropped Alexander Madison, Le'Veon Bell, picked up Tariq Cohen and James Robinson. Ryan dropped Darius Slayton and Darrell Henderson and picked up Jerry Jeudy and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Lyndon dropped Deshaun Jackson, picked up Malcolm Brown. Josiah dropped Baker Mayfield and the Chargers defense, picked up Naeem Hines and Benny Snell Jr. And I dropped Blake Jarwin and Cam Akers and picked up Jonnu Smith and Alexander Madison. So I saw that Roger dropped Alexander Madison, and I was going to target him like at the end of our draft for Dalvin Cook as a handcuff, but Roger took him, so I saw him on the waivers, so I scooped him up just in case.
I didn't get any of my waiver claims, so
Yeah.
You're probably close. You're probably in first or close to it.
I'm fourth.
Well, you're ahead of me. But some things that jumped out to me is Le'Veon Bell is now a free agent, and he might deserve to stay a free agent, to be honest. Also, in true Nathan fashion, he dropped everyone on Tuesday instead of just doing the simple add and drop feature that is provided for you right there. So if you ever want to know what Nathan's going to do, just go look on Tuesday to see who's dropped, and then you can snipe him. I am ecstatic that I got both Naeem Hines, and I didn't think I was going to get Benny Snell Jr. back.
I was going to say back.
I dropped him because they stated he's the very clear number 2, and I believe that. But then I gave James Conner too much credit, and Snell is not going to get 100 yards every game, but he has the potential to finish the season. So I don't know.
He did pretty well in that game.
But
he
it's
did pretty
because he's
great.
better than James Conner. And then I also got Naeem Hines, which I mentioned Josh has Marlon Mack, who is out for the season now. So that's one less running back in the not Chargers.
Colts.
I said Chargers because of what's his name, the quarterback. Anyway, one less running back in that backfield. So Naeem Hines is pretty good at receiving out of the backfield. He might not be a starter for me, but he should be a pretty decent spot play.
Yeah, see, like in our Discord, because on the app, it puts all of the waiver claims in a weird order. So like I woke up this morning and I was like, that's bullshit, because in the app it said that you got Benny Snell and then it went around, then you got Naeem Hines, and then I was the very last and I got just my tight end, and I was like, it literally skipped me for Naeem Hines because
He is my number 1 claim.
Yeah, but in the app it didn't state that. It said that Benny Snell was your number 1 claim, and then I looked on the website and it's actually in order. So I was like, oh, okay. But the app just throws it up there in a random order. So I was like, this is bullshit. Like I got skipped, but no, it didn't.
I see you're kind of reaching there with the Jonnu Smith pick. He looked pretty good. He has a lot of talent, but you also have no talent left in the tight end position after this week. So
Yeah.
that kind of sucks for you. But
Yeah, I took 2 dart throws at Blake Jarwin and Hayden Hurst, and one of them tore his ACL and the other one didn't do shit. So,
yeah,
I'm still going to give Hayden Hurst a little bit of time probably to see, depending on matchups. But, yeah.
I mean, Matt Ryan threw for 450 yards. He's bound to catch a pass every once in a while.
Yeah, but whenever you've got Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and whoever else is on that offense, crap.
I think Teddy Roosevelt did really well. I also saw Abe Lincoln out there was doing some work. And then Benjamin Franklin actually was electric.
Jesus, that was awful.
I hate you for that
I hate you. All right, so we had one trade this week. So
I think it's worth about 4 trades.
yeah, Ryan traded Nick Chubb and Michael Thomas to Michael for Dallas Goedert, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, and Golden Tate.
And then he also dropped J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Tevin Coleman to make room for those extra 2 spots.
Yes.
Daniel, what do you think of this trade?
I think it's a very, very bad trade for Michael. I think Michael Thomas's injury. They announced today that he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks roughly. He says he wants to play. I don't see that he might try, but I don't think the coaches are going to keep him in. High ankle sprains are bad news. And Nick Chubb is literally splitting carries with the Cleveland's punter. I forget his name. Kareem Hunt. Yeah, that's the punter's name.
Yeah.
And like from the stats on Sunday, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, literally it was a 50-50 split. Like they both carried the ball the exact same amount of times. I don't know. Like I just, with an injury and a 50-50 split running back and having to give up Tyreek Hill, Dallas Goedert's pretty good. I mean, Dallas Goedert is a backup. It seems like him and Ertz are both going to get a lot of catches considering the injuries to their wide receivers in Philly. But, he's still just a backup until something happens with Kelsey. Like there's talks right now, what I was hearing today. One, they're trying to like give Ertz less money. Ertz isn't happy. I don't know if they're going to make Goddard the number one there and try to trade Ertz before the deadline. So that could pay off for Ryan. But at this point, he's still just a backup, but he still does really well. I'm not a fan of Aaron Jones. I don't think that he's definitely not going to do as well as he did last year. He's not going to have 3-4 touchdown games all the time, but he still is the number one back there in Green Bay. And I don't really care about Golden Tate, whatever. I just think that this trade is definitely in Ryan's favor and not in Michael's.
So this is how I viewed it. Michael, his first and second round pick of Tyreek Hill and Aaron Jones. That was your first was that your first pick, Aaron Jones? No, you got Elliott.
Yeah, Zeke
and then
Elliott was my
so
first.
it was your second and third round pick then.
I think it was the second and fourth.
Okay, but Tyreek Hill is still a very good weapon. But straight up, Aaron Jones and Tyreek Hill for Michael Thomas and Nick Chubb, that one is almost close enough. I know Michael Thomas is the number one receiver, but it can be argued that Tyreek Hill also has that potential. And then also with Michael Thomas's injury, which I don't know if it's very clear what he's going to do from now. So I felt like that was a toss-up. And then Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb, I still feel like that's kind of a toss-up. The Packers give a lot of carries to Williams, and like you said, Aaron Jones might not score 19 touchdowns this year, but he's still a solid option. So straight up, that trade would have been a little bit in Michael's favor, I feel. With adding Dallas Goedert, who got 100 receiving yards this week, and throughout all of last season, he just kept catching more and more and more passes. I think Goddard, even though he was Michael's last pick, is a potential starter and probably going to be Ryan's starter. Golden Tate, when healthy, could be an occasional flex play for a bye week, or I don't know. But overall, I feel like Ryan's team got deeper. He gained the most points out of it. But then you also have to look at Michael's team, where he traded 4 players away, and he had a pretty deep bench going into it. So he has to be confident. Michael, you can speak to this. How are you going to replace the 2 extra slots that you kind of traded away on your bench?
I think it's still early enough in the season to kind of decide who's going to be good on the bench. So there's a lot of rookies out there. If Bruce doesn't scoop them up, there's a lot of people who are, it's only the first week.
If Bruce doesn't scoop them up.
Still more injuries coming. So there's a lot of waiver potential out there. And immediately speaking, I didn't really lose anything in the starting spot either, because I'd had a lot of depth in all those positions. So I'd Stuv, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill. I was never sold on Tyreek Hill in the first place, so I didn't really even want him. He was just the best that was available at the time. So I knew Michael Thomas was injured when I made this trade. I was very aware that he was going to be out at least 2 games. So, and everyone was rubbing that in my face, and I knew that. But Stephon Diggs came in hot. He's a good option in Buffalo. I still have Michael Gallup, who's still a good option. Then we still have Brandon Cooks. Ayuk comes back for San Francisco this week. So there's still, even if I move out of flex, there's still 2 or 3 people I could slide into that spot. And I'm going to have Ezekiel Elliott. And if Nick Chubb even puts up half the numbers he did last year, even splitting time with Kareem Hunt, he ran the same amount of yards same amount of carries this week as he normally did. He was just up against one of the best defenses in the league. So it's still too early to tell with Nick Chubb whether or not that's a good or a bad trade. If it is a bad trade, it is what it is. But ultimately, from a prospect of what we saw last year, I think Nick Chubb was a better deal for me. So I think there's a lot of potential upside, and I'm playing fast and loose here. I think a little bit. I think that I maybe could have not dumped. Maybe I could have got away with like keeping Tate or keeping Goddard in that and still got away with it. But I felt like trading for his number 1 and his number 2 picks, especially at number 10, where he had the bottom of the barrel, quote unquote, for first round. I feel like that's where my head was at. So
I would grade this slightly in Ryan's favor, just on the straight up trade. But like I said, Michael has his bench options, and it's putting a lot of faith in an injured Michael Thomas. And then anytime you trade, the goal, of course, is to put the best 9 starters out there. And I think Michael has the 2 better starters out of this trade. But I feel like Ryan probably got 3 starters out of this trade. So just in a straight up trade, I think Ryan wins. But in the playoffs, like if Michael makes the playoffs, if he has a healthy Michael Thomas and a healthy Nick Chubb, and like you said, slide Stephon Diggs in there and whoever else on his bench, then he might have the stronger team.
Word. All
All right.
So that was the trade.
It was.
There wasn't really any trash talk this week other than Ryan's video, which immediately came back to bite him in the ass, but it's kind of hard to explain the video other than that he pretended to step in dog shit and then picked up his shoe and my name was on it. So yeah, that was about the extent of trash talk this week. I'm pretty sure Bruce probably threw out a few things, but I tend to ignore anything that he sends in Discord. So, you know.
As do I.
So, well, you left the Discord, so you don't count.
Yeah. It was a trash channel.
I did want to bring up that Roger said, you know, like I said earlier, he goes, Michael, you might as well consider it one, even though he spelled one wrong. Suck it, Roger. Especially since you're about to start 0-2 against the 2 laughing stocks of the league from last year. Take those W's where you can. So, Roger, I'm going to have to take your advice. I will take the W where I did. So, suck it.
He's got that South Harrison education kicking in for him.
Yeah, big true.
I
actually thought there was a lot of good trash talk floating around in the Discord, but I guess nothing really worth bringing out. It's just we just constantly talk shit on each other all day, every day in there, so it's kind of hard to bring any out.
Yeah.
I know, like Roger with the classic, just checking to see if you still dem boys after the Cowboys lost. It's always funny, regardless of who says it. So, yeah.
All right. So I've got limited time, so let's go ahead and get into the matchups for next week. And we'll start with Josiah's game. Unsolicited DAC picks versus Mayor of Titty City. So Josiah gets to take on Ryan this week.
So does he have... Oh, he has Michael Thomas in his starting spot this week. So I'm projected to win at the moment 111 to 84.8. At the moment, I also have, I think, 5 players with question marks on them if they are even going to play. So to read off my starting lineup would almost be pointless. Hopefully Josh Allen does great for me and Derrick Henry kind of steps it up. Miles Sanders, please get healthy. And Naheem Hines might have to make a start here. Kittle, where are you at, man? And hopefully the Saints defense does what they did last week, but even better. This week, Ryan is starting Cam Newton, Nick Chubb, Ronald Jones, Michael Thomas, AJ Green, Evan Ingram, Jerry Jeudy, Indianapolis defense, and Harrison butt kicker.
So why don't okay, so obviously we can't go off of what Ryan's team is right now because that trade hasn't actually gone through. When does that actually go through? Is it tonight?
It should go through, tonight at like 3 a.m.
Yeah,
so he should have it set, but I don't think he has any Thursday night. Well, he actually has AJ Green, so that I don't think it should affect that too much. But Michael Thomas, I don't know. He'll have Tyreek Hill in that spot, and then he'll have Aaron Jones in the Nick Chubb spot. So maybe even Dallas Goedert in his tight end spot. So I think he will probably come to, it'll be like a 111 to 105 prediction or something close to that. I'm probably going with Ryan here because, like I said, I might not even have a completely healthy roster to start. If I do, they're all limping in there anyway and maybe not at 100%. And I think Ryan comes back with his big trade and shows that it was smart of him. And I think he's going to do well this week.
I think that he shouldn't start Cam Newton. He's playing I get it. Like I understand why. Like I mean, he's new to fantasy football. He saw Cam Newton go crazy last week. He saw Drew Brees not do much last week. And it's kind of the roles are reversed. Cam Newton played the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins aren't the Dolphins are the Dolphins. And Drew Brees, he played the Bucks, who have a better defense than the Raiders. And now those roles are kind of reversed. Like Cam Newton's playing Seattle. Now, Matt Ryan did throw all over Seattle, but I don't know. I don't think Cam Newton's going to rush for 2 touchdowns against Seattle.
I think Cam Newton might be the play here, though, because Drew Brees will be without Michael Thomas. And, of course, he can throw to anybody at any time, at any place. But I think, I don't know. It's, of course, up to him. I don't want to kind of lean him either way here. But I think after seeing Cam Newton last week, I think that would be my personal play. And now he's going to put Drew Brees in because I said that. But I think Cam Newton's going to have to do a lot of work by himself, and 2 touchdowns rushing is going to be almost normal for him. So I think, I mean, he might not score 30 points, but I think 20 points for Newton should be the normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly, I think Ryan will win. I'm going to take Ryan in this one.
I think Josiah's going to win it. I think you're going to rally here. I think it'll be close. I think he'll come back, but I think you're going to win.
I think, I mean, if I have a 100% clean bill of health going into Sunday, I think I win. But like I said, there's just too many question marks on my team with, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of my current starters might not even play, and then 2 of their replacements might not even play either. So I'll be reaching down to what I consider my 3rd string options. So 100% healthy, I win, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm picking Ryan.
All right. So I really wish that the ESPN, like whenever those trades go through, it actually like redid the rosters for you instead of like waiting until Thursday. One, for, you know, the reasons that you need it to start your roster, but also for this podcast, ESPN, Jesus, come on now. Get your shit together.
Also,
well, it says everyone has until today at 8:57. So here in like 20 minutes to veto it. Oh. Is what it says.
Oh, so okay. So there's a veto option.
Yeah, there's 2 days to veto, and then it goes through.
Okay.
I also want to shout out that ESPN rearranged all the teams that I had in my app, and I very much dislike that. So I know you're listening. ESPN, you are trash. I really wish we were doing this in some other form. I wish it was pencil and paper because that would be better than the ESPN app.
Do you like the old school where you had to mail in your lineups and your stuff?
Yeah, just keep track.
That would suck, especially with the postal
It'd
service.
be better
and
than
COVID.
ESPN.
All right, next game, Linden versus Bruce. Both 0-1. So one of these two teams are going to come out 0-2. Who's it going to be?
I think both of them probably have a very good chance at losing this week.
I think there was too many things. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Edwards-Helaire and Russell Wilson both had great games, but I think David Johnson getting 20 points was not something that you're going to see every week,
Especially against Baltimore this week.
Yeah. So I mean, and then I think there were too many things that went right for him. I'm not saying he sucks. I think that he still has some moves to make. I just don't think he's going to put up 130, 140 points again. That being said, looking at Linden's team, I don't see that happening on his side either. I think he'll stay consistent right in that 100-point range. I'm going to have to give it to Bruce, though, on the account that he just has some better tier players. I think that all these people performed pretty middle of the road, and if last week is any indication, it's going to be middle of the pack, and then you're going to see a couple on Bruce's team round him out on top. So I'm going to go with Bruce.
I think this is actually a pretty big week for Bruce because even though he lost, I feel like his is the team that kind of exceeded my expectations last week. And guys like Michael said, David Johnson, this is not going to be an easy week for him. You saw Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt kind of struggle last week. Edwards-Helaire, is he going to put up 120-something yards every game? I don't know. So I'm going to pick Bruce to win this game because I don't really see anybody down Linden's list that I feel like will do well, which means that Linden's team's definitely going to win, but I'm picking Bruce.
I honestly think that Linden's going to take this one. I think that Bobby Trees and Malcolm Brown are both going to have huge games against Philly. Titans defense against Jacksonville. I think that's a good matchup.
Kenyon Drake could go berserk against the Washington defense.
Yeah, he could. I mean, plus, it's just Bruce. I don't want to pick Bruce to win. Like, why would I do that to myself? The one thing that
Todd Gurley, Higbee, Brown, Woods, this is like the all Rams and former Rams team over here,
right?
For Linden.
Yeah.
Dude, he was high on the Rams when we drafted. Like, he was.
He just picked up another one. So,
yeah, I think
go.
Deshaun Watson's going to struggle big time in this game. But I think that
tends to happen when you lose your best receiver.
Yeah, I still think that Linden's going to pull it out. So, all right. So let me get these down so we know for next week who's in the lead. All right. So on to the next game. We have Big Booty Cheeks, Josh versus Nathan versus Nathan.
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, versus Nathan. Josh versus Nathan. Josh versus Josh Jacobs. How's about that?
Huh.
Okay.
So, looking down through, I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to have 3 touchdowns against New Orleans. I think he may have 1. He might get Nathan 14 to 16 points. Saquon Barkley, is he going to get another 6-yard rushing game? Like, is that going to happen again?
I doubt it because the Steelers defense, they were tackling him before he even got the ball this week. So
I'm not high on Saquon Barkley. That's why I didn't take him at number 2. I just don't think I think he's very, very talented. I just don't think he has a team to help him.
Yeah, he didn't really have a chance with Bud Dupree just eating his lunch.
Well, also that and like the whole after watching that Giants game and watching the plays that they were calling at what times they were calling it, you can tell that Jason Garrett is running that offense. And Jason Garrett they were in the red zone and they were passing the ball. It's like, you've got one of the best running backs in the league, dude. Same thing in Dallas. Like, we'd be in the red zone on first down, not run the ball once. It's like, are you going to use Saquon Barkley or are you just going to waste him like you did Elliott? Like, Saquon worries me because of that.
They spent a very high draft pick on Andrew. Was it Andrew Thomas went to the Giants? I believe, whatever it was, whichever one of those tackles they picked, he didn't have the best week this week. So there's a potential moving forward that he kind of settles into his role. But the Steelers defense just kind of ate him up in the run defense. Mm-hmm. For Josh, with Eckler and Mixon, he's got to have them put up at least even with 20 points. Like, I don't know if they put up 20 points, he probably wins. I think they didn't even put up 15 total for him last week.
No.
It was at least close to that.
I think it was like close to 11 or 12
total. Yeah.
I do have a question about this Washington defense, and that is, what is the least amount of points that a defense can score in our league?
I don't think there is a minimum.
So Washington's defense is really, really good. Like, they've got a really good defense. They've got a really good defensive front. But they're playing Arizona, and I don't think that – I mean, they might get him a couple points, but they're not going to go over, like, 8 points against that offense. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Well, Arizona put, 1 point on San Francisco's defense? I think last week played into the Washington defense's hands. They have 17 points. Josh is known for trying to pick up that defense off waivers because we make fun of him for dropping the New England defense last year. But the Philadelphia team that has all these injured receivers, they want to build off the running game and tight ends. Washington's defense has a very good front eight, but I don't feel like they have the best secondary, which with Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins and all those guys, I feel like the defense is going to struggle this week unless they can get to Kyler Murray, which is possible, but I think that they're not going to do what they did against the Eagles last week. But hopefully for Josh's sake, they hang up at least 7 or 8 points. But I am actually going to pick Josh this week to win over Nathan just because, like you said, I think Josh Jacobs is going to take a step back against the New Orleans defense and Stafford going up against Green Bay. Odell Beckham Jr., who, even though he's going up against Cincinnati, he once traded, so who knows what kind of attitude he's going to have. But besides Julio Jones on Nathan's team this week, I just don't feel great about the matchups. And I know Daniel's going to say that the Dallas defense is great this year, but
they weren't.
No,
Julio Jones
they were not.
Might score 450 points this week if
our defense was like watching water run through a fucking strainer.
It was bad.
It was
I
terrible.
would consider for Nathan Emmanuel Sanders, who he didn't really do much last week, but Michael Thomas isn't playing this week. Jonathan Taylor is on his bench, who no longer has Marlon Mack to steal carries from him. And then Noah Fant did great last week, but he's facing the Steelers defense. So I think Nathan has the potential to do this, but with Lamar Jackson, Amari Cooper, and Juju Smith-Schuster, I think that they're going to put up enough points for Josh to pull away.
I'm taking also Josh in this one.
Yeah, the matchups for Nathan this week aren't that promising.
I mean, they're not even bad. I just feel like all the matchups for Josh are great.
Yeah.
He's the defense is here. Houston Kansas City, Cleveland, Atlanta, Denver, Las Vegas, Dallas. So like he's going to do okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Josh too. I just don't like you guys are saying, the matchups for Nathan are kind of tough, and Josh didn't do bad last week. He just
No, he
it
didn't.
wouldn't have
It was
mattered.
just his running backs that let him down.
Yeah, that's the only I think Joe Mixon will have a good game against Cleveland, but I think that Joe Mixon will be his best running back that he's starting this week. But other than Lamar Jackson, because running back, whatever. But yeah, I'm going to take Josh to win over Nathan. How does that make you feel, Nathan? And
You picked me to lose last week too, so.
true, I did. All right. So on to the next one. We have the chosen one, Michael versus Roger. So Michael, would you like to start?
Yeah.
We're looking at Josh's team here, and we might call a penalty on him soon, but that's fine.
Whoa, wait, what's going on with Josh's
well,
team?
I
Oh,
seem to-
hey, those are automatic waiver wire, by the way.
Okay.
Josh knows that. No, if it's a rule, it's a rule. Josh heard it at the draft. You can't use your fucking IR spot unless the dude's got COVID. He goes on the waivers.
Yes. So we did instill a
Which,
rule this year. I don't think
to
we've
be
talked about it.
fair, he tore his ACL. He's gonna be out all
He's
year.
going to be out all year, but
Yeah.
so yeah, it doesn't really matter. But
Well, we'll catch him. We'll do the big police on him.
we'll have to jet him.
Yeah. Okay.
He's penalized the draft spot.
So I'll start. Just looking at the matchup I have between myself and Roger. I like my matchups a lot better than his matchups, even though he's got some decent easy ones. I think that Matt Ryan's going to do great in Dallas after seeing that Dallas defense, but conversely, there's no stopping Ezekiel Elliott. I need to take a look and see who I'm going to start in my second running back slot. Probably Nick Chubb. I haven't seen that matchup yet because I currently still have Aaron Jones. So these projections could change. Currently, I'm up 115.7 to Rogers 108.9. This is all going to change because my team's going to swap here in a few hours. Obviously, I'm not going to start Michael Thomas whether he says he's going to play or not. I'm going to probably bring Stephon Diggs up into my wide receiver slot and then put Michael Gallup up there and maybe move Keenan Allen down into a flex. Maybe even move Brandon Cooks up or Brandon Ayuk out against the Jets. I think that's a pretty good spot to be in. And I just don't know, though. I still think I'm going to put up 115, 120 points. And obviously, his Travis Kelce's probably going to get 3 touchdowns against the Chargers. So, I think it'll be close. I still think I'm going to edge out Roger just because I can't imagine myself losing to Roger. I won't have any humility left or dignity left if I lose to Roger. So,
I think that Michael's team is with a few different places, of course, in there. I think Michael's team's good for the 115 points he's projected. Roger against me last week with the Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins connection, which he was banking on. He even mentioned it in the draft. That connection single-handedly got him 40 points last week. So this week, I think he's going to have to lean on that again against the Washington defense. Hopefully, Kyler Murray can stay up long enough to get DeAndre Hopkins the ball. And if he does, I think he'll have a big day. And then Travis Kelce against the Chargers, who are without Derwin James. So he's a big part of that middle of that defense that's where Travis Kelce kind of lives. So I think Roger has 3 people that could almost single-handedly win him the game this week. Not confident about Cooper Kupp, but he is going to Philadelphia. And Singletary against the Miami defense, that could yield some points. Alvin Kamara, what did he have, 2 touchdowns last week? I don't know if he'll do that this week, but he's facing the Raiders, who have less of a rushing defense than
Yeah, I'm just worried about Kamara in that spot with Michael Thomas being out because he's also they have
That's
Latavius
true.
Murray who can and Kamara can go out in the end.
He might
in
catch
that
a lot of
backfield.
passes.
Yep.
But I'm going to pick Roger just because I believe in the Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins connection enough that if Roger makes the playoffs, that draft strategy is going to be the reason why. So I'm picking Roger to win, but he needs a big game from them.
I'm going to pick Michael to win, and in 2 words, I'll tell you why. Sammy Watkins. Because Rodgers playing Sammy Watkins, and everybody knows that Sammy Watkins is good in week 1 and then doesn't do shit the rest of the year. So
I was looking at that too. He did just pick someone up off waivers. I'm going to call him Juice Robinson, even though his name's James. And then he also picked up Tyreek Cohen. So Sammy Watkins in his flex might not be a permanent thing, but I don't know. I feel like Michael's going to have more good things, more things go well for him than Roger, who's just going to have 2 or 3 players do well for him.
that's fair. All right. On to the last game of the week, and that is me versus Brittany. Brittany, who scored the most points last week and absolutely pounded Josh into this week. I wonder if Josh is even awake yet after that. So I'm obviously going to pick myself to win because it's my team. But I think that I've looked over this. I looked over this earlier. Chris Carson's not going to have 2 touchdowns or 2 passing touchdowns. Adam Thielen's not going to do as well as he did on Sunday. I don't know. Like Christian McCaffrey's always, a lock-in for 20 to 25 points. Patrick Mahomes really didn't do as well as a fantasy quarterback as he normally does, so that kind of gives me hope for this week too against the Chargers. So I don't know. I think I can win this one. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, like 120, 125 roughly for both of us. But I think I'll squeak by a couple of points.
I think you're going to have a lot harder of a time this week with Will Fuller with Baltimore.
Oh yeah,
and
he's not staying
obviously
there.
Devontae Adams. He could against Detroit. He could still get you those 30 points, but not to rely on those at all. And I don't think Raheem Mostert has a 25-point game in him every week. I just don't think he's that caliber of running back. And I think Dak Prescott's still going to be consistent. I think Pat Mahomes is going to be great against the Chargers. And Christian McCaffrey is McCaffrey. I don't know. I think I see Brittany pulling in John Brown off her bench and putting Terry McLaurin either in the flex spot or not. I think she'll just put Terry McLaurin on the bench. Jamison Crowder did great with him last week and the defense in San Francisco really didn't prove to be all that formidable. So I don't know. I just, like Josiah said last time when he was talking about the other game, I think Brittany just has more going right for her than you do this week. I think Chris Carson could very well keep doing what he's doing. It's just, I don't think there's any factors at play there. I think that's just whoever Russell Wilson just wants to hand the ball off to. The man's got magic hands. So I think if Carson's free, he's going to get the points.
You just don't want to sleep on the couch tonight, so you're picking Brittany.
It's true.
Plot twist, I'm sleeping there anyway. So
I do not think Dalvin Cook is going to have he might have a solid game, but I think the interior of that Indianapolis defense, even though they're not quite there yet, they have a solid linebacking core. And unless Dalvin Cook can get outside of those middle linebackers, he might have a rough day going up the middle. Raheem Mostert, I actually think, is going to have a better week than he did this week, but maybe not necessarily the 75-yard touchdown catch.
that's what I was going to say. Better week doesn't mean more points in this scenario.
I mean, we saw the Jets defense. I don't think he might get 100 yards rushing, but still score less points than he did last week. Devonta Adams, in that going up against the Detroit defense has the potential to do a lot because they're still really young. They just got rid of Darius Slay. And so I think it's interesting. I feel like Mahomes is going to do really well. He's going to outscore Dak Prescott. And then I don't know how Waller's going to do against the New Orleans Saints defense. This one, I feel like it's the closest matchup of the week. It's projected 114.3 to 113.5. And there's a very strong potential that whoever loses this game scores the second most points out of anybody in the league. So this game might take 140 points to win. And with Mahomes, McCaffrey, Carson, I think those three, plus Buffalo's defense against Miami and Will Lutz versus Las Vegas, I feel like they're going to do better than the average on defense.
Well,
So, of course, San Francisco could do really well against the Jets.
Yeah.
But I just think if I had, it's a complete coin toss, and I'm picking Brittany because of Mahomes and McCaffrey.
All right. There we have it. And we'll go over whoever won those next week.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever wins at the end of the year gets a big old turd in a bag on the front porch, lit on fire, because we're childs.
Okay.
We're childs. We're children. I am tired. And I have another podcast to do right after this.
Yeah, but that one's about the Cowboys, so it's not going to be good anyway.
You're right.
So, Michael is our special guest this week. It was Chad last week, and we let him talk about some stuff. Why don't you tell everyone how I am way better than you at Among Us? And like,
it's actually not true. You did really well. We just didn't have a chance to play against each other. I never lost as the imposter when I was playing either, if you remember. It's 4-hour video proof.
I remember that you fabricated evidence against me.
Oh.
And kicked me out. But you can find Michael streaming on Twitch and Facebook. Where can they find you?
Average Idiot 121.
Where else can they find you on this great podcast network?
D&D Kinda. I'm the DM. I have to deal with everyone else's crap. Video Game Mythos. I deal with my own crap there. And also on Gurus of Gaming, which is currently on hiatus, but I'm on there every now and then.
There you go. Look Michael up. And if you like playing Among Us, why don't you hop in a game with us, and I will gladly slice you in half and, get away with it.
All right. So thanks for everybody for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Tell us who you think is going to win. And yeah.
Do not leave the review based on Daniel's favorite team.
Dude, if you like the Cowboys, leave us 5 stars and let's get a We Dem Boys in the comments. Suck it. All right, everybody. Until next week, don't be a dick and wear your mask. I'm getting out of here.
Okay, bye.